Look at me.
How does someone go from dominating the NFL to sitting in a Texas jail cell again?
I got the glow.
Greg Hardy wasn't just any football player. He was a rising star, a beast on the field, and a name that once struck fear into quarterbacks. But behind the highlight reels and stadium lights, there was always something darker lurking in the background. And now, years after the league turned its back on him, Hardy is back in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Earlier this week, Hardy was arrested again. This time, the charge is serious: assault causing bodily injury to a family member. It's not his first time facing accusations like this. And for many watching, the question isn't if Greg Hardy's life would take another dark turn. It's when. In May of 2014, everything changed. Greg Hardy was arrested after a disturbing incident involving his then-girlfriend. According to reports, the confrontation turned violent. Allegations surfaced that he had thrown her onto a bed covered in firearms, put hands on her, and threatened her life. The details were graphic, unsettling, and quickly spread across sports media like wildfire. Hardy was charged with assault and communicating threats. He was found guilty in a bench trial, but when he appealed for a jury trial, the victim, after reportedly receiving a financial settlement, chose not to testify. With no testimony, the case was dismissed. Legally, Hardy walked free. But publicly, his reputation was already in shambles. The NFL placed him on the commissioner's exempt list, essentially benching him with pay. Sponsors began to distance themselves. And fans who once cheered for his sacks now questioned if the league was doing enough to hold players accountable. But Hardy, he didn't show much remorse. He stayed defiant, posting cryptic tweets and cryptic messages that only added fuel to the fire. In the court of public opinion, the damage was done. The once rising star had become a symbol of everything broken in the NFL's handling of domestic abuse. Despite the backlash, the Dallas Cowboys signed Greg Hardy in 2015, sparking immediate outrage. Critics blasted the move, accusing the team of choosing talent over ethics. But the Cowboys bet on Hardy's ability to produce under pressure. And for a few games, he did. He returned from suspension and made an immediate impact on the field. But off the field, the chaos only intensified. Hardy's behavior quickly became a problem. He clashed with teammates, showed up late to meetings, and seemed to operate by his own rules. On the sidelines, he exploded at coaches. In press conferences, he made bizarre and unsettling comments, including one where he casually referenced bringing guns to the game. It wasn't just bad optics, it was a PR disaster. The media scrutiny reached a boiling point when photos from his 2014 arrest were leaked to the public. They showed bruises and injuries allegedly caused by Hardy. The Cowboys let his contract expire. No other NFL team came calling. By 2016, Greg Hardy was out of football. And then, just months later, his name was back in the headlines, this time for something entirely different. He was arrested again, this time for possession of a controlled substance, cocaine. Another fall, another mugshot. For most athletes, this would have been the end of the road. A final chapter in a messy story. But Hardy wasn't done. Not yet. Because instead of disappearing, he decided to reinvent himself in the most unexpected way possible. When the NFL turned its back on him, most assumed Greg Hardy would fade into obscurity. But instead, he made a move that no one saw coming. He stepped into the cage. Hardy began training for mixed martial arts in 2017, and within a year, he was already fighting professionally. In 2018, he signed a developmental deal with the UFC. That alone triggered a firestorm. Critics questioned how a man with a history of domestic violence was being given such a high-profile platform. UFC President Dana White defended the decision, saying everyone deserves a second chance. But not everyone agreed. He debuted in the UFC in early 2019. And the fight went exactly how people expected: fast, brutal, and dominant. He was disqualified for using an illegal knee. His career became a rollercoaster of violent wins and humbling losses. And just when it looked like his MMA career might settle into a quiet rhythm, his name burst back into the news. Because Greg Hardy had been arrested again. And this time, the story was all too familiar. In early June 2025, Greg Hardy was taken into custody in Texas. The arrest came around mid-afternoon, according to jail records, and the charge was serious: assault causing bodily injury to a family member. The details surrounding the incident remain sparse, with law enforcement releasing little beyond the official charge. Hardy was booked shortly after the arrest and is slated to appear before a judge for a bond hearing. Until then, he remains behind bars, a stark reminder that the past might not be as far behind as anyone hoped. Greg Hardy's future feels more uncertain than ever. With this latest arrest looming over him, the path ahead could be full of consequences: legal, professional, and personal. Assault charges involving a family member are serious, and the coming court hearings will be critical in shaping what happens next. Greg Hardy's future feels more uncertain than ever. With this latest arrest looming over him, the path ahead could be full of consequences: legal, professional, and personal. Assault charges involving a family member are serious, and the coming court hearings will be critical in shaping what happens next. Yet, Hardy's story isn't finished. History has shown that some of the most troubled figures can still make comebacks, whether through personal redemption or reinvention. Whether Greg Hardy chooses that path or falls further remains to be seen. One thing is clear: this arrest isn't just another chapter. It could be the turning point that decides whether Greg Hardy's legacy is one of second chances or a cautionary tale that can't be undone.